and tomorrow on this section. It is all review. You did linear stuff in Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, but we still need it, so we need to take the time to make sure everybody knows what they are doing here. So what do I mean when I say linear? It's a line. What's the equation of a line look like?
Y equals mx plus b.
Okay, so linear function, y equals mx plus b. What is m? What is b?
Y, so that's
All right, and x and y are just the variables x and y. You have those in your equation. Okay, so first thing I want to do is make sure you guys remember how to graph lines. I am not as nice as Mrs. Keller. I don't print graph paper for you. You're all grown up and you can draw an XY axis now. So, I know, I mean, don't you dare go ask her to print graph paper for you.
What if I ask somebody else?
What's not printing myself?
Yeah, what if I
You
print
can print
myself?
yourself, that's fine. Don't bother her.
I still have graph paper from her.
So, if I want to graph this, you guys get to practice on your notes.
Oh, no way.
Draw an XY axis. All right, so f of x, we know from our function notation, that's the same thing as saying y equals negative 3x plus 7. So if you want to graph that line, what do you do?
Start at 7.
We always start with the y-intercept, so that's where you hit the y-axis, so that's positive 7. Put a dot. My slope is negative 3, so that means
3 down 1 over.
it's like negative 3 over 1, down 3 over 1. You can do more than one point if you want, and that pattern just keeps continuing down and over. You only have to have 2 points, and then draw your line connecting them, and hopefully it's slightly straighter than mine. It's a little crooked. Okay, can you tell me the domain and range from this? So domain is talking about our possible x values. So x goes from,
Negative infinity to positive.
right, when we did it yesterday, we said from left to right. So it's coming from negative infinity, and it keeps going, so positive infinity. This one's going down, that one's going up, so the range would be
Negative infinity to positive infinity.
Those students on your list for Build My Future field trip can be dismissed to the lobby at this time, please.
Have fun, guys. All right. Is the domain and range of a line always negative infinity?
Yes.
Almost always. When would it not be?
Whenever it's straight.
If you have a horizontal or a vertical line. Otherwise, for any other line, it's automatically negative infinity or positive infinity. Okay. So you guys graph that one, give me the domain and range. All right. So y-intercept was 3. Slope is 2, so up to over 1. Is this line increasing or decreasing, by the way? Increasing. What about the one we did before?
Decreasing.
Good. How do you know?
It's like the end of the line.
Negative.
You can also look with the slope is negative, it's decreasing. When your slope is positive, it's increasing. What's the domain?
Negative or yeah.
And the range?
Well, you do your infinity signs way different.
Do you do it too?
No, I just like.
I just start at the middle and I just go. And
Yeah.
I hope it adds up.
8. That's all I do. No, like I just like.
You just connect it, you don't pick up your pencil?
Yeah,
Well,
that's what I do.
when I started, I would just turn my paper and just draw an 8. But then that took too much time, so I was like, I hope she knows this is an infinity sign.
Alright, what about this line?
Oh, straight line.
Okay, well all lines are straight,
Like a
right?
vertical line.
Oh, okay, so You notice this one doesn't even have a y in it.
So,
If it's just x equals a number, that is a vertical line. So if x equals -3, that would be a vertical line at -3.
what? Oh. Gosh, Angela. It's so funny.
All right, domain. Oh, pretend that's straighter than it is. So domain is the x values. What x's do we hit?
Just
One,
-3.
Just -3. When I write that, I can't do an interval notation. Interval requires a starting and a stopping point. So we just say it's just 3, the set of 3. That's the only x value we hit.
Instead of -3.
-3, sorry. You could say like x equals -3, that's fine as well. Different ways you might write that.
Already says X equals -3.
True. I mean, that's the equation, but it also turns out to be your domain. The range, what y values do we hit?
Excellent.
There's your problem.
Well,
Get to practice drawing your own graphs. All right, we know f of x is the same as y. So if it's just y equals -3, that's a horizontal line at -3. Domain, what x's do we hit? Negative infinity, positive infinity. Range, what y's?
-3.
Just the -3. Okay, is this increasing or decreasing?
Either.
Neither. What is this? Constant. Very good. This is a
Oh,
constant
ski
one.
guy. He's
Yeah.
gonna make a slope guy.
Undefined.
Okay.
No.
So we're talking about
Yeah.
lines. We need to know how to find the slope. Oh, slope just tells you how steep the line is. What?
So was terrible.
It's not.
We did it for half a year after one.
We did do it for half a year, didn't
Well,
we?
I'll do it for 5 minutes maybe. Okay, so you have 2 points. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. So slope is rise over run, or change in y over change in x, or y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So make sure you jot down that formula.
You just said my name.
Okay, what's the slope of a vertical line?
Undefined.
And a horizontal line?
Constant.
Well,
0.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, slope of a vertical line is undefined. Remember your little slope dude video? And horizontal line has a slope of 0. Make sure you know those when you take the test over this. I'll probably have a vertical line on there and ask you what the slope is. We can also figure it out just by taking 2 points and using our formula. And what makes it undefined? What happens?
Point, it just goes on forever.
You get a number divided by 0, and can we divide by 0? No, so that's why it turns out to be undefined. All right, does it matter on a line which 2 points you pick to find the slope? No, slope is telling you the steepness, so any 2 points on that line will have the exact same slope between them. So let's practice a couple, make sure we know what we're doing. So I'm just going to give you 2 points and ask for the slope between them. So this is like your x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, and y sub 2. So slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we get negative 10 over 4, which reduces to negative 5 over 2. You could write negative 2.5. For graphing purposes, a fraction is nicer than a decimal because then we can think rise over run. So I tend to leave these in fraction form when I do it. I want you guys to do B. Okay, so when I find the slope, get 8 minus 8 over 5 minus negative 3. So you get 0 divided by 8, which is 0. You can have 0 on the top, just not on the bottom. So this one has a slope of 0. That means it's a horizontal line. That means it's constant. But the actual slope is just 0. All right. So far, so good? Yes. Let's write the equations of lines. Well, actually, why don't you graph these first? Before I was giving you the equation and asking you to graph it, I want you to graph it from this information. So we don't have the equation, but we don't need it in order to graph it. I gave you a point, so you start at the -2, -3. Slope is 4/3, so that means we go up 4 and over 3. And you just draw your line between those. So we can graph it from the equation or just from a point in the slope. Are we good with the graphing? Do we need more practice with this? Good with that? Okay. Don't have enough room. What?
I didn't realize we didn't have to find the B.
Oh. We're not going to write the equations today. We will soon. But today we're just practicing what all the different properties of it. All right. Take a second, see if you can match these. So I gave you equations, I gave you graphs. See if you can figure out which is which. So when I look at this, the first one has a positive slope, so my line has to be increasing. Y-intercept at +3, there's only one of these that's even an increasing line. So that one's C. These two are both decreasing. This one has a y-intercept at +3 and this one's at -3. So this would be A, and that one would be. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. X and Y intercepts. What are those?
When the line touches the X and Y.
Okay. We will find X and Y intercepts for the rest of the year, not just with lines, with lots of different functions. And for whatever reason, everybody always really struggles with remembering what it is. So x-intercept is where your graph touches the x-axis. If you cross the x-axis, what's true? Every point on the x-axis has something in common. If you took every single ordered pair on the x-axis, so it's like 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0. So if it's on the x-axis, that means y is 0. So when I ask you to find it, we can find it from a graph if we can see, but from an equation, all we have to do is plug in a 0 for the y, or cover-up method. Cover up the y when we're solving for x. So a y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Every point on the y-axis, what's true about this? So if I want a y-intercept, you plug in a 0 for the x. So let's try it. X and y intercepts. I want to write my answer as an ordered pair. So for this equation, if I want the x-intercept, what do you do? Cover up the y, or you're just plugging in a 0 for the y. So you get -3x equals -8. Divide by -3, so x is 8/3. y-intercept. What do we do?
Convert the x.
I'll plug in a 0 for your x. So we get 4y equals -8. So y is -2. Now right here, people get this and then I ask for order pair and this is what they give me. What's wrong with that?
8/3 0 is it here?
8/3 is a point. Is that on the x or the y axis? No, I asked you to find two different things. You have to give me an ordered pair for each of them. So the x-intercept, my x was 8/3. What was my y value? 0. For the y-intercept, my x was 0 and my y was -2. So if I ask for ordered pairs, make sure you're giving me two separate ordered pairs. Don't just try to put those two answers together. All right, you guys do this one. Maybe a couple people with a slight calculation error. X-intercept, so you plug in a 0 for the y. Divide by 4, so 18/4 is 9/2. Y-intercept, plug in 0 for the x. So we have -6y equals 18, so y is -3. So my x-intercept is 9/2, 0. Y-intercept is 0, -3. Is this okay? All right. So you guys pick. We have a Math Excel assignment. I have just a couple things left to cover. Just talking about average rate of change and one other thing from looking at a graph. Do you want me to save 3 more examples that I have? Do you want me to save those for tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, so I also have an activity we're going to do tomorrow. The Math Excel is open. It is a little bit longer because some of the questions have multiple parts to them. So it'll, say graphic, give the domain, the range, the x-intercept, the y-intercept. So that's why I'm giving you a little more class time to work on that. So you can start it today. It's not due tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll finish up the notes. We're going